Good afternoon. My name is Alena Shautsova. I am an immigration attorney from Brooklyn, New York. In today's Legally Speaking seminar, I would like to talk to you about citizenship and how one may receive citizenship in the United States. First of all, everybody probably is aware that if a child is born in the United States, a child automatically becomes a citizen. This is true in all cases, except for the cases of the kids born to diplomats or persons who have diplomatic immunity in the United States. Sometimes such children still receive a birth certificate showing that they were born in the United States, and they use that birth certificate to prove their citizenship, U.S. citizenship. But it's not entirely correct. Because what those kids should do, they should be applying for permanent residency first. This is a whole different topic of how one born to diplomats can become a citizen, but this is something worth to be aware of. The second way of receiving U.S. citizenship would be if you were born to one or both U.S. citizens' parents overseas. There are special rules of who can become a citizen and how, depending on when the person was born. The laws were changing over time. That's why on USCIS website there is a table showing which conditions must be met for the person to become a U.S. citizen automatically if he or she is born to one or both U.S. citizens overseas. Now, there is a third way to become a U.S. citizen, and for our purposes, this is probably the most common way. It's through naturalization. Naturalization occurs when a person, an immigrant, comes to the United States and first becomes a green card holder and then becomes a citizen. In almost every case, the person has to become a green card holder first, and only then he or she will become a citizen. And depending on how the person became a green card holder, he or she will be applying for citizenship at a different time. There is one exception. There are always exceptions, right? There is one exception to this rule. It's when a person becomes a naturalized citizen during the military service. There was a special law, I believe it was passed in 2008 or 2010 by President Barack Obama, when a person becomes a military member and during the 90 days period of boot training, before the person actually becomes a full military member, the person, after completion of the training successfully, can become a citizen immediately. It's very important. This is the fastest way one can become a citizen, apart from being born in the United States or being born overseas to the parents who are U.S. citizens. So naturalization. Generally speaking, one can become a citizen through naturalization if he or she has been a green card holder in the United States for 5 years. Sometimes it's possible to file for U.S. citizenship when one was a green card holder. Naturalization. Generally speaking, one has to be a permanent resident in the United States for 5 years before he or she can file for naturalization. Usually, it will apply to those who receive their green card, for example, through employment or through self-sponsorship or through asylum. But here's what happens with asylum. People who first receive asylum status actually can file for naturalization a little bit faster. It is because the date that they will receive printed on their card, green card, will be 1 year earlier than the actual date when they became permanent residents. And if a person was admitted in the United States as a refugee, that date would even be earlier than 1 year. It is because when the person is admitted as a refugee in the United States, this is a date when, generally speaking, he or she is considered to be a permanent resident from that date. So, for example, an asylee comes to the United States. Usually, a person asks for asylum in the United States. First, he or she has some other status or no status at all. So that time would not count towards asylee person's green card time if a person's application for asylum is approved. But when a person is admitted as a refugee into the United States, that time usually will count towards their green card, for them being a green card holder, usually. So the actual time that they have to wait before they can apply for citizenship will be shorter than 5 years. Of course, those who receive the green card based on marriage to a U.S. citizen may apply in 3 years, after 3 years being a green card holder, opposed to 5 years. But during such an application, the applicant will have to show that he or she still has a viable marriage and still has a real marriage with a U.S. citizen. Sometimes people make mistakes during that process for citizenship. Sometimes they say, what they do, they file separate tax returns with their spouse to save some money. But what happens during the citizenship proceedings is that U.S. officers will ask for the copies of the tax returns. And when they see that the tax returns were filed separately, it means that the couple actually lived separately for some period of time during the tax year. And there was no marital union during that time under federal law, and the person either has to withdraw their citizenship application and file it at a later time, or will have to amend their tax returns. And there is one more case when a person may file for citizenship faster than being 5 years in a green card holder status, is that when a person received green card based on self-sponsorship as abused spouse of a U.S. citizen, then a person also can use the same benefits as if the person was married to a U.S. citizen, even though the petition was converted into a self-petition or was approved based on abuse. So this is the procedural considerations or time-wise consideration of how and when one can become a U.S. citizen. And of course I'm going to make more videos going through each particular type in details, explaining it more in details, how one can become a citizen based on, let's say, marriage to a U.S. citizen or employment, and what you need to watch out for during the process. If this video was helpful, please visit our website www.shautsova.com. We have more articles there about various aspects of application for citizenship, and thank you very much.